6-page research paper.
We're just gonna build the platform.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Dev.
That's the challenge.
Support equals support.
I'm trapped in New Mexico, you know, and
Stay beautiful. Stay beautiful.
Stay beautiful.
Wow.
6:53, an author from Essex County has a new book out. Jameel "C.H.A.O.S. Laboo was born and raised in Newark. His book is called C.H.A.O.S. He discusses his 11-year-old daughter's experience with anxiety, depression, and peer pressure from a father's perspective. The book mirrors what kids are dealing with in silence. It also highlights how parents may miss the warning signs and offers practical solutions on how to help. C.H.A.O.S. is available on Amazon.
Upset or sad or just not in the mood to laugh or joke or do anything or even talk.
Like I know depression all too well, and I know that this was a form of it, where the little girl that was happy all over about everything that just she always was just this goofy childish smile, and then in this little bit of time, you watch people steal it from you.
I didn't let any of my anger out, so I just got upset in class, and I cut myself.
And I just remember getting a call from school and saying we had to come in and talk because, you know, my daughter cut herself in class, and it was just kind of like I can't really imagine the worst time of my life to hear that. And yeah, I mean, it was stealing my daughter from me, stealing my happiness.
Redman would definitely be in there, and this is no order, no specific order. So Jersey, I would have to say Redman. Even Queen Latifah for the women. Fugees as one, the whole group. I feel like I know Naughty by Nature, and one more. That's as a whole as well. One more. I really can be missing somebody because it's like y'all just threw it at me like that. But
I'll give you my 5 after real quick. I've thought about it, so I was trying to catch you off guard.
Yeah, let me see. One more. I'm gonna put myself in the top 5.
Okay.
Okay.
I was hoping you was gonna say that. But here go mine in no particular order. Well, I'm gonna say number 1 to me, Redman, hands down. Redman's still riding around on his bike out in the middle of traffic doing what he's doing, right? Then I got Joe Budden. Then I got L Boogie. L Boogie in there, and then I got Tretch, and then I got people. He screams Harlem, but he's from Jersey. C.H.A.O.S.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah, you don't want to accept that.
You got to scream that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you know, I mean, I'm not knocking Harlem, but you from where you from. And shout out to Joe Budden, he definitely held it down. He's definitely one of the top lyricists. You know, it was sprung, so I had to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
For sure. That's a little thing to get icebreaker.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Dev here. Coach B, you know who will be bridging the gap. What we got going on tonight. We have artist, actor, father, husband, and now author Jameel C.H.A.O.S. Laboo. Am I saying that right? Or Laboo?
Yeah, Laboo. There you go.
He is the author. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, he is the author of Signs. We could all be better parents, which the themes in this book will be the main topic of our discussion tonight. So, I kind of want to jump in and just ask you. I know the motivation behind writing the book, but at what point did you sit down and say, I have to write this book?
Man. I was just going through a rough time due to the experiences my daughter was having. So, of course, you know, her experiences are my experiences. So, at the time, it was so new to me personally that I just was writing it just because I don't know if I was embarrassed or I didn't know who I can trust with this information. So I just was writing it to get it out because I was holding it inside. And a lot of times with me, I can get worked up easily and I have to get it out. So I just was writing it down with no plans on actually putting the book out.
So
Okay.
was this when you decided to do this, like you said, this started off from an interaction with your daughter? Did that help motivate it? Well, I think you said you were riding in the car, or you were seeing what she was saying to you, and then saying like, I need to answer these questions for myself, and it made everybody reflect on like your wife included, your daughter, you included all them in this process,
Mhm.
right?
Really, I always had a tug of war with trying to get a message like to help people. I always had that is always in my heart to help. And I think I always did certain things, but I never went like full force with it.
Mm,
So this situation was almost like the pushing the back, like do what you're supposed to do.
right.
So and, it wasn't really like I mean this situation is the motive behind it, but it was always like I knew people was going through things, and I don't think I stepped up so worried about people judging me. You know that he come from this past. He made some mistakes in his life. I always worried about the judgment, and so it held me back a lot. You know?
So did you feel like you weren't the qualified person to say those things, or?
I actually, it's not that I don't feel like I feel like I'm more than qualified, but
Mhm.
I felt like the world was gonna put a bullseye on my back. You
Mm,
know,
Oh, okay.
you get what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how it go. Like people think you need certificates and degrees over experience.
right. I think experience. I think we talked about that the little day on other day on the phone, and I think experience is the best teacher. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as you're not cutting nobody open trying to put their heart back together, I don't think you need a degree. I think experience is that, and I think that's one thing that's missing from the communities that we both come from. I come from similar background as yourself, like being out here. I choose to use football. I coach kids in that youth development and work that angle, and just point out the mistakes that I made. And I get that from the book that you're doing a lot of reflecting, saying that how we were raised, are we putting this off onto our kids? Are we going to keep that going to where it's another generation of mistakes that might have been made? Because I looked at my parents like they made a lot of mistakes, and I therefore you did that to my kids also, until I started to get the information and really starting to delve in. And I think that's what this book is full of energy of, is like that reflection, like how can I be a better parent? So I dig it. I really do.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it's definitely we have so many generational traits that are unhealthy. And it's been so many years done for so many generations that we really just accept it. And a lot of us really know that it's unhealthy, but it's just like, well, my mother taught me this, my father taught me this, their mother taught them that, and we really passing it down. And I think it's selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a particular question that I wanted to ask, and that was, speaking of the generational failures, what are some that you think are generational failures that like your parents passed down? What were some failures that that we could all kind of like talk about that you think from the previous
Um, I,
generation?
I, I think just me personally, it's like the school, like I feel like school is important for everybody to go.
Mhm.
But I think that you need to elaborate more on just saying, go to school, just go to college and get a good job. I think it's so much in between that that's not touched on, and it's just like your parents. Majority of the parents are still struggling today, and they might say, well, we went to school and we did this, and you want your child to look at you and say, well, what's the reward in it?
Right. There's a lot of, yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. That's one thing that I tell a lot in the youth development. I never discourage not going to
Exactly.
school or going on to higher learning in college. It's just giving them all the information. I
Yeah.
see you had that conversation in the book at
Mhm.
some point. I don't know exactly where it was at,
Mhm.
but you did point that out. And there's more learning to things. Like you said, the one thing that jumped out me, and this is what I got the most out of the book, is include your kids in some of the things. Teach them financial literacy by help showing them how strong your wife is going to work, coming home, taking care of the household, how strong you are going to work, having to deal with things, and then we have to pay the bills. Some things we can't do this month, and then just dialing back on the materialistic things and include your kids on your side hustles and stuff like that. I think that's the best learning that our youth can ever get, is being included in on what's really going on. I think that one thing I can say about how I was raised, I was shielded from a lot of stuff that I should have known that was going on, because it would have prepared me earlier for some of those type things, the bad decisions that I made. So I definitely see that in the book, and I think that's a great point to punch home.
Okay. Yeah, I think that for the most part, I don't. I think that school is great. I think that you need education, especially to go in some of the rooms that like I would never be able to get into if I don't have a certain degree. But what the problem is that we stop educating ourselves after school, or we don't do any extra educating ourselves while in school. Like it's just strictly whatever that textbook say. That's what we learn. But life is way bigger than that. It's so many things that I'm pretty sure everybody will say, well, I learned in school, that we don't even apply in this world today.
Right.
So
And the textbook is kind of outdated. It's
exactly.
kind of outdated. It's kind of outdated. And I totally agree with you saying that. I think everybody would, like, you're not going to get into certain rooms unless you have that degree. And I also think when you go off to college, it's a lesson and it's your networking. Like,
Yeah.
whatever you're coming off from, you're going to meet those people that you're either going to build with, or you're going to recognize that that's the person I don't want to be around. And I'm going to be able to find the people in a network right there. So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to add to the textbooks thing, this is coming from, I'm the generation after you guys, that basically
A couple after us.
a couple, right? I'm sorry, I forget how old the guys are in this room I'm talking to. But yeah, like I said, to tie into that, I went to school, and to me personally, I think that college, depending on what you're going for, is probably the biggest scam in America. Not because of there's some good information there. If you go to a college that's going to like a 4-year school for, say, science studies or something like that, where it's specialized knowledge, well then yeah, of course, and you're not going to get access to that kind of research equipment without going to school. But for things such as what I'm doing here, most of this stuff is all self-taught, all the production stuff and whatnot. So I think that the information's out there, and just what he said about the textbooks makes up a good point, that when you go to college, they make you pay an exorbitant fee for all of these textbooks with all this explicit information that they say that you really need. But in reality, all that information exists over here on the internet, so you can find all the stuff that you're supposed to be learning in the textbooks at school.
Yeah. So I think, well, to add on, I don't want nobody to think that we trying to encourage kids to not go to school or
No,
keep
no.
listening. But what I believe is we have to stop making each other enemies. Like the people with the degrees and things of that nature shouldn't feel like we're not qualified by experience to speak. I think if we sit at the table together and come up with something constructive that we both can do to attack it, it'll be successful. And I think that people look at it like, well, I went to school, I spent my money, and you just coming aboard talking about experience. But money and pain is two different things.
Right. Yeah, I think they're like, you can, like, the combination of bridging that gap right there, like having people being like not at each other's throats saying, "Hey, I have the experience, I'm gonna be able to do this," or them saying they have the book smarts to say, "I'm gonna be able to do that." But the combination of both can reach many. It
Yeah.
can reach many, 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 many people. So, like, I keep going back to this because I think this is what makes your book like unique. I think that you adding your daughter Yamina, right?
Yeah.
Dot.
Yeah. Dot.
Dot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dot. It's a nickname.
Um Doing this with her, I read the her comments at the end of it, and saying how it helped her
Mhm.
and your relationship become better. Everybody that was involved in the book relationship is better. And then she went on to go have conversations outside, whether it was counseling, I think it was,
Yes.
and to be able to do that, and she feels a lot better, and that y'all relationship is better. That's how you feel as the stance in it too?
Yeah, well, our relationship has always been tight, but I
Mm.
think that going through this, it made it even just that much stronger, because it's times she might felt like she did something so bad that it would have crushed what we had. But in reality, it just made me step up my game and say, I'm not gonna become the program parent that I despised of and not despise that. A lot of us are just lost in our ways, and it's not that we are wrong. We just was raised a certain way. And I always told myself I wanted to be more into my kids' life over like the occupation that I do. And so I think that this situation helped me to relive my beliefs and say, you know what, don't fall off track with this again.
Yeah. Reading at that part, speaking of towards the beginning of the book where you're talking to Dot, you're first having those car conversations with her, and you start bringing up those things. I think it's interesting. I wanted to know what started making those conversations around that time harder to have, like from your perspective, because I saw that you portrayed what was going on in those particular parts, but like around sixth grade, that time, what was like the thing that just made the conversations between her and you like more difficult to understand?
At that time, you have to think. For me, I was battling between how I was raised and how I'm trying to raise her, and I say that because to hear your child going through these changes, it ultimately already makes the anger come out. And but at the same time, if I strike out of anger, I'm not raising her the right way because I can tell her to do one thing and then she see me do another, and that's what she thinks is the right thing to do. So I think when I talk to her and she'll say certain things, like when I look at her, I see someone that's beautiful, and so for her to sometimes maybe not feel like she sees the same thing, and I know that it's hard for me to change that. That's heartbreaking because that shows that you have no control over something.
Right.
And so I just think that it just was the reality. Like, man, all these years from a baby to now, I thought I was just prepping her, and to realize once it got to that point, I wasn't even ready.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I feel like it's kind of like the harsh reality for parents when they get to that age. Maybe is that they're just not prepared. Or I mean, I don't know if anybody can really be that ready. And I agree with what you're saying about you just feel like you have no control over that because you said you think she's beautiful, and then for her to not think that is like, well, what can I do to make her feel that way? And it's almost like you can't because the acceptance like at that level sometimes because I was I mean we've all been in high school but like when
Yeah,
you come in fresh especially like around that time you're looking for acceptance from all the kids in the school. It doesn't like the parental life almost the family life almost kind of goes to the backside. It doesn't happen to all kids, but it happens to
yeah,
a lot of them. And then once you
majority.
go through that system, because like I said, I was a loser in middle school. And you just want to be sitting at the table, and you end up feeling awkward and stupid and anxious for all the things you say and being extra hard on yourself, extra
I,
hard.
I think I think you saying you was a loser is a mindset.
Right.
Like who categorizes a loser? Tell me why were you a loser?
Right. Well, yeah, that's the thing because I wasn't sitting at the groups with all the kids because I don't think I actually am a loser. But in that sense, like I would have been hanging out with the kids that maybe didn't shower every day or do the yeah, man.
What?
I mean, as a category, didn't have no sense of fashion. We're into really nerdy things that maybe most people weren't into. Whether it be like Star Wars or whatever. And yeah, there was other people that were into Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't like so open about it. And they had a lot of friends. And they had the communication skills and all of that.
Let me ask you a
And
question. So you said that was in high school, right?
middle
Do you,
school, when I was in middle school.
do you still see some of the kids from middle school to this day, or no?
Oh yeah, I see them around, not like all the day, I mean, all the
I mean,
time.
about the cool ones.
Yeah, I see them. And what's funny is a lot of them now associate with me, right? Because you get out of school. And I think there's something to that where you just go on, do you, and do better. And for yourself, and then people respect that. And when you meet them, they're like so happy to see you. Like, wow, you're doing great. That's awesome, man.
So what you saying? Maybe that you should never call yourself a loser again because you're already a winner. You was a leader.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I was just saying because when you're that age when you come in, I'm saying because when I was there, I was in that mindset. Like I was stuck inside of my own head, and the only perception that mattered to me at that time was what everybody else around here thinks of me. Also, because I moved around from school to
Yeah.
school, it was kind of like an issue because I was hard for me to make friends because I was moving from this school to that school to this school to that school. So like I kind of all my friends were kind of just moving around. I
But
was
you
always
were
the
the
new
re-
kid.
what you have to understand though, all right, if it's a kid watching this right now and you saying that's what a loser was and they in that space, then they're gonna feel that they're a loser right now, but maybe later on in life they'll be a winner. So the mindset is that mindset is I'm a winner, period. I'm just different. I'm a leader. Most leaders or most people that want something different in life, they most times they lonely at the beginning because nobody understands them. And as you go on, they realize like I'm behind and I need to catch up to him or her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the out of the box thinkers. It's society that's saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because in high school, I was saying in high school, that's where I came through that. And
Okay.
all I was saying was like in middle school, it's hard. Like when you're coming into that, it's hard to see. Like it's just hard to see past it at that point because I'm not really sure what it is. Really, I don't know if it's just the young naivety of like not knowing those things, and maybe you want to be that person, that ideal picture of yourself. I'm not sure because you see you grew up with like the high school dramas and whatever. But a lot of people don't understand that every person is exceptional and they have this thing, and we have to have people that. I would say hone that leadership, like you said, being a leader. They have to hone that and bring it out of you almost because I've met people that have helped with that.
That brings up an interesting point because there's this a point in the book where you're in the car, one of those morning talks to drop off to school, and your daughter asks you to stop off at CVS to buy a gift for somebody going into school that she doesn't really know. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that story? I think that was a great story right there.
The girl was, I guess she's supposed to be like one of the popular girls in the school, and she already had her own little crew and things of that nature. And my daughter's very, very intelligent, and I personally think that can be intimidating to a kid. Like even certain kids, I don't want to quote and say bad kids, misguided. They don't understand if they don't, how can I put it? If they don't have certain qualities as the next person. So that can make them actually dislike that person or hate that person for no reason. And also that they create a crew of people that pinpoints this person. And this person never did anything to you. So at this time, just coming into a new school, she's, she has her friends from the prior year, but everybody's not in this school because you have to get accepted there. It's just like, well, what I have to do to be, I want to be with this crew. I want to be accepted, and people were already buying this girl's stuff. So this was her, and on her birthday, she's like, well, I'm gonna buy her something too. And I'm just like, we don't do that. We don't buy friendships.
Right.
Friendships is not bought. It's gonna happen or it's not. And that's just how I feel from the heart. You're special, and not saying the other person is not special, but at the same time, you have to learn that when you being special in your own way, everybody can't take it.
And it has to be something that's earned. You got to earn somebody's their friendship, and they got to earn yours too. That's a two-way street. And the way that you took that story and explained it to her about the gang life, about the crew, like you would be, if you did that, you would be this because you know what I mean. You would be her, and this is her crew. You would be part of that instead of your own individuality.
Exactly.
That was a great bridging the gap moment, as we would say.
Yeah, I think that because like if you look in the world today, that's a big thing. Like gang is a big thing. Like I said, a lot of my friends are involved, and to this day we are still friends. There's no judgment on my behalf because if I don't judge what a person's into. I just help where I can help, and that's just how I am. But the thing is, by showing her, I tell her these type of things and let her know that I made certain sacrifices. One, because of who I am and how I carry myself, but two is I can't teach you to not be a follower. And it's no disrespect to anybody, but I can't teach you to not follow something. Let me say that. Right. And then I'm following. It makes no sense. And that's another thing that I think that as adults we really don't realize, that we tell our kids, our nephews, our nieces, anybody that we have authority over, so much stuff that we don't follow. So it's hard. Like they listening for right now, but behind closed doors, they doing what they see us do, and they gonna grow up to do what they see us do. So that's why you gotta practice what you preach.
Practice
for sure. I definitely believe that. And that's a great point in that, because I made a lot of mistakes. I was one of those earlier on parents. you know, it didn't affect me like it affected you. I heard you say in the book, like when Yamina was born, it made you look in the mirror and say, I got to make some changes and
Yeah.
be that example.
Yeah.
When I had mine, I was younger. I was still running around in the streets doing things. It didn't affect me like it affected you. And that's what kind of jumped out to me. And I was wondering, I was just in my head, like, why didn't it affect me? It took me until my twins came for me to be like, wait a minute, I got to start living my truth, live by an example, and start living like a man should to be an example for them. Did that process happen like when you found out that your wife was pregnant, or it's your girlfriend at that time? I'm not sure. Did it start then, or when it start when you seen her face?
No, actually, to be technically like honest and more personal, at the time I was in some trouble, criminal trouble. I was facing some charges, and I actually was
Live
about
your
to
truth, brother. Live your
yeah,
truth.
yeah. I was about to start trial for a case. And I remember, I want to say it was like July 11th. No, but it was a couple days before July 11th. I asked the judge, can he postpone the trial, because any day I should have my child. And he told me, like, you wasn't thinking about your child when you committed your crime. So now that whole week was so heavy, because I'm like, what if I lose? I don't get to see my child being born. So July 11th, I beat the trial. My birthday, July 13th. My wife went in labor July 13th. And then my daughter was born July 14th.
You got some blessings. You got some blessings.
Right there, it was like when I held her, I'm like, this like I can't imagine leaving her. And I think that didn't initially full force make me change. I actually had something else pending back to back, where I actually had to go away for a little while.
Right.
So to watch her come and visit me, and at the end know that they was leaving and I had to go back into this room.
Right.
It was like a reality check that I never want to be in that position again.
I heard that. That's definitely the way to go. Also, we're gonna bring up a couple of things too. Also, I seen like we're doing research. We like to do research before, to get to know exactly what who a person is. I see that you've been doing some acting. Like, were you doing some acting? Tell me what never changed. How'd that come about? What was your involvement in it? Tell our viewership all that.
Well, never change is something that's something that it's like my motto. Actually, the name of the entertainment company with the books is called Never Change Motivation. So I believe that you always supposed to grow, but your core and like your heart of the things that you believe in. We get people can get $1 million tomorrow, and you don't even understand it, but like they sell their soul for it. They the most conniving person. And growing up how I grew up, majority of the people that you grew up with, when you start advancing a little bit in life, they change, and you'd be surprised who try to hurt you. And so, but when I started acting, it taught me that you can get out your feelings. Like, it could be negative feelings in a positive way. So I actually wrote the whole Never Change series, and kind of just showed the views on the things you go through. Like, the people, somebody's telling on you, or your close friend really want to see, cause harm. And it actually took off. It was doing good ratings, man. It was doing good. And I actually found a love for acting. So.
Is this, you guys funded it? You funded it?
Yeah,
funded it?
Yeah.
So, I like it.
And I just been like doing ever since. I just been I wrote a few more scripts that I'm shopping around. I just love the acting. Acting is cool.
Yeah, that's sweet. I'm glad. Like I said, we appreciate people out here that pursue their passions with that kind of reckless abandon, so to speak, because that's what we're all about around here, is helping out the people that are passionate about what they want to do. And again, like we were just kind of having that conversation about being the loser, or the society deemed loser.
Yeah.
And like going through middle school, whatever, is finding out what you're passionate about and going at it with everything you have. And also, too, you rap, right? I mean, I gotta say, I can't remember the name of the video, but the one where you were in behind the booth and you were rapping like through the phone, at the prison, and like you had I can't remember the song, but I enjoyed that music video so much. Like, I thought it was awesome. And
Oh,
your
what's not
verses
that
are dope.
that one right there? That's not even actually me rapping on that. You talking about
Oh,
gang?
so you just acted in it.
Yeah, I was the lead actor in that. It's actually a guy named Marlon Craft, and it's so funny because he's a white guy and nobody really knew. Like because he said that it wouldn't the message wouldn't have came across right if it was just him rapping it. So
Mhm.
he
Oh,
took a different
Wow.
race for each
he did
one.
some he did some creative Joyner Lucas type thing, like
Exactly.
found a way to, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
That was creative. So it was him rapping, but you were in the video doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it
Yeah.
was
Like,
sweet. That was a good video, and that's interesting because we talk about stuff like that on Bridging the Gap. Like the differences between like the white people, black people, and their culture, everything like that. And like I think that's interesting that someone said, "I got this song, but I probably won't do it much justice if I rap on it." So like he's gotta have someone else do it. And like I said, I mean I don't know if he was coming from it like I don't want to be the cheesy white rapper, or like the song fits more of this demographic, and I I want to get that word out, that message out. I'm not sure what
No,
it is.
actually, when they booked me for it, and I only heard like my verse to it, and then when I got there and seen the whole song, I said, man, it's like he's like I would give him like he's great at marketing, and but it's not a gimmick. He actually really do speak for like the have-nots, and I think he comes from like a basketball playing background, so he was being around different the different cultures and things of that nature.
right.
So and he also the crazy thing about it, he said he goes through like the anxiety and depression and things. So he actually kind of hit it off pretty dope, and his career is taking off right now. The video has over 1 million views. Is big superstar has been reposting it. Like he's doing great right now.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
good to
So
be a
let me
part of that.
ask. Oh, my fault. Doug.
No, that's it.
Let
That's all I want to say. Go ahead.
let me ask you about that. Like you said something also about like you um reflecting on what you were rapping about and what it was like the people, the younger generation, the youth, your kids, and everybody, how the things that you were saying they would take. Um, do you still actively rap now, right? Or is
Um,
that
for move like if it's like for soundtracks and things like that I'm putting together, I always write. I
right?
record. It's just to be honest, it's really a battle of putting out certain things. I think that I want to reach a certain plateau um in a positive light,
Right.
so it matches up. You know, if,
That was the question too.
yeah.
Did you change that right there? Did you
um
is it maturing, like we'll say, like somebody like Hove. Hove, you could see the maturity of how he grew and where he's at right now with like what he's rapping about. It still has the same, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
he's speaking on things that grown people need to be speaking on and the kids need to be hearing. Is that like that? You see the maturity in it?
See, like how it is for me right now. I'm trying to master the balance. And what
Okay.
I mean is more so. Um, I don't want to speak too grown over their head where they just like I don't want to hear him.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Because you have to stay in a level of to be relevant, to the younger core. Now, but at the same time, I'm not trying to stay relevant to sound ignorant in the sense of like I need to be accepted. I'm not chasing acceptance. I really just want to pull them from the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's like I know what I'm rapping. I'm reflecting on my life, but they wasn't there. So they can't see that. They can't feel that. All they hear is what I'm saying, and now they're gonna say, "Well, my life was a little rough too, so I'm gonna go out here and do this." I don't want to feel like that's on my scroll that I actually promoted them to go out there and do that.
Right. I feel you on that because I've rapped for years. I don't do too much of it anymore. I more write, but I'm thinking about, I have a lot of people that are telling me, yo, just go ahead and put out something. People
Mm.
need to hear that, like the younger generation just needs to hear like that it still could be done. Basically a heat check. You know what I mean?
Heat
But
check.
in saying
Yeah.
that, I see the growth of it. I always tried to have some kind of, because I grew up on like Guru, Black Thought, Chuck D. I mean, Cool G Rap was in there.
Yeah.
Granddaddy IU was in there. Then it got to Nas when Nas just showed me that perfect balance where I was like, Oh, I can say what I'm
Yeah.
seeing. I can say, but I can also say what I'm learning, the lesson off of it, or and then show the growth in it. And that's where it's at with me right now, is making sure I show some growth in it. And but I'm giving you the perfect picture.
I think like I was 100% Tupac, so it's kind of hard for
Yeah,
me.
oh, you listen to
So
you
it was it was hard for me to
at
like.
Outlaws.
Yeah, it was no
Yeah,
balance.
Jersey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
even when he was saying something positive, it still was just so gangster. It's like
Oh, yeah.
so it was hard to find a balance. So
Respect that.
and I think people expected that from me. Like if I don't know if you paid attention to the comments under the So Brooklyn challenge, they're like, oh, give them what they want, you bet, and it's like, of course it feel good because it's what I love to do. But even on that, I'm still reflecting. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't want to give them the wrong picture. Like it's okay to do this. It's okay to do music, but I don't want you to go and act it out.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
know, I,
well,
we
I
we
just wanted
seen
to
that with
interrupt
Shotty. Oh, go
just
ahead,
to
Jeff.
give out because two people left a comment, and I just want to shout them out. Nicolette Carmela said, "Hey," and Darlene Freeland gave the clapping emojis with the it looks like the calendar emoji 4 times. I have no idea what that is, bro.
it's my aunt. Shout out Anishi.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you. All right, go ahead, finish what you're gonna say, Coach.
Yep. Sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely, and that's what it is like. We see it is today. Like I never try to knock anybody what they're doing, but like what the kids are listening to today, like I can't co-sign none of that. I can co-sign a few of these guys,
Yeah.
but like let's just use Takashi as for
I knew,
example.
I knew he
Like
was.
I mean, I'm like, come on, man. These kids like, and I even had to tell my nephew, he was like 17, 18 years old. I'm like, man, you got to know better that what that dude is saying right there ain't happening in his
Yeah,
real
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Ain't happening. He's around people that are like that and allowing him to get away with it and protecting him, but that dude ain't about that life. So don't think that that's what it's about.
Mhm.
Oh,
I was
okay.
gonna say I wanted to steer the conversation because that actually brings up a good point, and I want to kind of steer back towards parenting, because I was thinking about the idea of the parents that enable their kids to do those things, like maybe like act out, be crazy, like oh, like the you can drink, but just tell me where you are, or you can go and do this, but you can but do it here at this house. Those kind of like the enabling kind of parents, not just the enablers in your life, but the enabling kind of parents. Like, how do you guys? But I'm asking both of you, how do you feel about those kind of people?
Um, me personally, I think that it really stems from their parents. You really only doing with what you was taught. And or if you wasn't taught that, you could have been just a black sheep outcast child as well. So you're just teaching them what you taught yourself. And then some parents want to be cool with their kids to the point of like, look, if I let you do this, just be honest with me, or something like that. And a lot of times that backfires because for one, when kids are sneaky regardless. So whatever you let them do in your face, it's gonna get worse behind your back.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be 10 times.
yeah, so I think you have to still monitor what they're doing. I think it's just finding a balance of conversation. Like I'm not everything can't feel like discipline. I think if it's a lot more love shown, the kids is more receptive to talk to you.
And I think you said there was a quote, something like this. I don't know if it's 100% what the quote is, but it's something like this. Like, we don't have to be best of friends, but we don't have to be worse of enemies. So, like you said, the balance. You can find a way. Of course, if your kid does something that's not age appropriate and under your eye, under your watch and under your eye, and you catch it, you're gonna have to put some kind, like you say, you do it with the love, but the discipline. I
Yeah.
always was like that. Like you're not gonna do things that ain't age appropriate with my kids,
Mhm.
but I also let them be able to come to me and ask me about those things when they're coming, like at them, whether it was about first time smoking weed or about sex or whatever that is. I had the door open. I'm gonna listen to you, but you know how far to go with it. You better be.
Yeah.
You better, you know what I mean? I'm gonna listen, but you know how far to go with it. So yeah, pretty much.
I think that something that we have to keep in mind is that it's like million different worlds for a child.
Yeah.
You teach them what you teach them in the house. Then they go to grandma's house. She has her beliefs. Then they go and hang with they go with the cool cousins that you look up to. They have their beliefs. So you have your work cut out for you. So I think that's why where it comes from understanding, because if you don't communicate and show love, and it's more just discipline, and then they go to all these people's house that show love and tell them what they believe, it's a good chance they're gonna be leaning more towards the other households or the street, the world, and not when I say the street, not meaning just violence, just like where they're hanging out at.
Yes,
They go to the comfortable where it's comfortable and where it's love at. Where it's strained at, you want to stay away from it. So I think that's we have to find a balance and say, all that, if you don't follow my rules, get out my house, you might have just sent them to the worst place ever.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was asking because it kind of hits closer to home for me, because my mom, especially like my high school years, it was kind of, I had a relationship with her where it was, tell me the truth of what you're doing, and then, you can go out and do it, right? Now, me, I had a level head on my shoulders for the most part, and I would say that I was fortunate in that my parents made a lot of mistakes in life, and I was able to see the mistakes they made in life and try to avoid them. Which, like I said, sometimes isn't. Sometimes I find a lot of friends of mine, they fall into the same traps and things that their parents did. But for me, like I said, I was the honest kid. I would come home, tell my mom, where have you been at? I say, hey, I'm over here. Maybe we're having a few beers or something. Hey, we're hanging out with these guys. But I always joked around and told people I was always designated Devin. Like I was like when I was at those things and at those parties and doing whatever I was doing, I would just keep everybody safe. Like what I'm the guy's taking the keys away, or hey, I'm the because that's just how I was. I took care of people, and I didn't really get into all that stuff. And to this day, I always joke around with Coach on the show or whatever, like, yeah, I'm snorting coke, but I'm the most straight edge person alive. And like I said, but I think it was an interesting conversation to have, because I wonder, like, maybe if I was a different person, I wonder if that parenting strategy would have worked for me, because it might not have.
I think you can look at that more than one way. I think you could actually say maybe your mother knew the child that she raised, because, like you said, people you was responsible. So not saying that it was technically the right thing to say, just tell me what you're doing, because you have some cruel people here. Somebody could have spiked your drink or something like that and messed you up for the rest of your life. But I think that maybe she just knew her son. And then one thing we have to remember is life happens, man. We are just trying to figure out what's the best way to raise your child. What's the best way to just be there? I'm not sure if your father was in your life, but it could have been a point of her just saying, how do I manage both roles? Or it's so many things that go through our parents' mind that make them feel like they're making the best decision possible to hold their child close. So we can't really fault them and say, yo, what you did was wrong. We just have to be more knowledgeable and say, how do we change that as we go along? And even if you don't have kids, I'm pretty sure it's kids in the world that's around you that you can give them something differently than what your mother gave.
Yeah, you give out that knowledge and expertise and that because I like doing that a lot. I enjoy it. But I gotta say this. So hold on, I'm making sure I'm trying to say this right. Soraya Freeland.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Yeah. She said R. She just left the letter R in the chat. I don't know if it stands for Ronald. I don't know what it stands for.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Red, that's one of my mentees. I'm mentoring her. Brain don't go all the way to the top.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I like
it. Let me ask you this too. Like, just in that conversation that was just said that Dev was talking about his parents and saying that. You mentioned in the book once that I also see too is that these kids are growing up faster and faster. Like, as quick as the technology is going, like, we have to definitely be on that type of stuff if you have a younger kid and grow with it. Like you said, you have to be well informed and communicate well with them and show them a lot of love, so you can have access to that type of thing, and that you can like monitor as best ways can. So after this whole experience of writing this book and doing all this and saying that, and it's like a reflection thing. Did you go back and have it like with your older, whether it was parents, uncles, aunties? Did you guys did it open dialogue with you guys about maybe some of if they read the book or whatever?
The crazy part, it never happened. Now what the crazy now Saraya went to this me and her had a long conversation because her mother and my mother are sisters. So we had a conversation on how we was raised and different things of that nature. So I would say for us and like we build it on it like but these was mistakes or we can do this better or we got to come together more or like we just kind of we at the age because my aunt was my aunt somebody did a post that hit home. We were so used to like cookouts and things of that nature and we it was like that get slowed down, nobody do cookouts no more, and somebody put a post and said if nobody do cookouts no more, then you have to realize it's your turn now. And I'm like, oh,
so that's the question. You better like the
you
coals,
better like
bro.
the answer,
You
man.
better like the coals.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah. That's
I respect it. I respect it. And I think that's like maybe that's what hit me after I went through everything and I seen the things. I was like, I want to go talk to my peoples now and say, I mean, Auntie's mom, everything, and be like, hey, this is why I did some of this stuff because some of the mistakes, and this is why I didn't do some of the things because some of the good things that you did. And we just got to know as parents, we're not going to be perfect. And I think like us just thinking that our kids are going to be perfect puts crazy amount of weight on them. And it could just push them farther and farther because we know as they get older, I mean, there's that time in there that they're going to need that little space and not too much pressure on them, just more love and less, like you said, discipline.
I think that we just have to be mindful that the times are changing so fast that the kids are really remember I don't know my mother, people say you too young to have a nerve or you don't know what a nerve is, like you say you get on my nerves or something like that. And one thing that I learned now is that kids really, my son at 3 and 4 years old, he really know what he feeling. He know if he upset or something, or I said he like I'm sad, dad. Like like he knows what he's talking about. So I think that or I told my wife, I said, don't say certain things around my youngest daughter, and she like she don't know. I'm like, you don't discredit their how fast they learn. Because kids are learning very fast. And I seen especially on YouTube saying when how you would take your child to class. I seen parents yelling their kids up, don't be crying or don't be doing this. And to realize after reading and studying and saying like they also have anxiety to realize that things are changing. They're gonna be away from you for hours of every day now. They have to be around strangers to get used to this. And instead of you showing the love, you actually screaming at them for crying when they want to be with you. So I just think we have to understand. Like,
I would say it's almost as if you're invalidating their feelings. I know that experience from my dad and them, and he even told me that he's made mistakes whenever like I go out there sometimes, and my mom and whoever. But I think it's a problem. A problem is that with the younger kids, we try to like invalidate how they're feeling because it's just the level of immaturity that they have at this point. They don't really have those emotions, or it's just the hormones and everything, which maybe somewhat might be the case, but we also can't take, just like people, we can't just invalidate someone's feelings and how they feel. We have to address that first and foremost, because whenever you say something like be quiet because of this, or like, oh, stop crying, you're taking away someone's ability to feel some kind of emotional reaction. And like I said, it just makes them bottle it up inside, and they should be able to freely express that. Exactly.
It's gonna come out somewhere.
That goes. I don't know if y'all got to a part in the book. My father, like our relationship, my father was the stay strong, you better not cry, better not let a tear drop, and that's another thing that I try to practice with my son, because he was like, boys don't cry, and I said, no, boys cry, but you could tell me what's wrong with you, and then we can, we work on it, and then like, I tell him that we figure it out. Don't walk around with boys don't cry or things of that nature, because you can become so cold. And for so many years, that was me. Like I didn't want nobody to see any type of weakness from me, and if you assume that's what it was, it's like, all right, so what you want to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like how I was raised.
We just we're gonna work this out.
So you have to change that narrative a lot with the males. Is so strong, because that's a lot of violence is from guys scared to show that they actually hurt or sad about something.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a lot of PTSD. It's coming out in different ways, like you just mentioned about my father was like that. My uncles were like that. I I mean, I remember one time I got playing football and I busted a rib and I was like crying and he was like, "Stop crying, boy." You know, I mean, he expected me to go back and play football. I'm like, yo, my stuff really hurts. So, but yeah, growing up in that manner, you definitely take it out somewhere else because I would go out into the streets and then I would be like, yo, I can't do this around them. They're gonna wild out. So I'm taking this out on somebody. Where the hands at? You know, those type of things. And that's happens a lot with these kids nowadays because one thing, and they're going to worse. They're not using these hands no more. They're going to the weapons. You know what I mean? Or they're going to the attack where there's not too many fair ones you're seeing anymore in these days and times. And I think that's the type of stuff that needs to be brought up by men. And we need to be leading. So with this, where are you going with this? Like, we had a couple of talks, but where is the, like, I know you mentioned a book tour and that. Well, where's the overall goal?
Well, the overall goal is to create a community of people that make these subjects cool to talk about. Because if I'm trying to, it's almost like an album release. You know, when the big rap artists drop an album and everybody's looking forward to it, they're following it. We're trying to incorporate that kind of style with this. Like we like you said, try to do the radio, the podcast, these things that make kids like, oh, this cool, this all right. So now, but then when they listen, they hear you talking about, you know, you sad, you know, you're going through this, you're going through that. They're like, oh, I can talk about my feelings. I can say this. So I'm trying to create the community big, like, you know, whether it's city to city, state to state, to grow this to the point where people know it's all right. Even they say, you know what, I might can't talk to this person right now, but I know who I can reach out to. You know,
there could be somebody. There could be
like,
somebody in that network.
Yeah.
Because that's the truth of it. I mean, hurt people just hurt people. It's that simple. And if they don't have no outlet or somebody that they could trust, that they could talk to, and I think that's an excellent idea. I think that's excellent for people to be able to understand, man, it's not weak to go get help or go get, you know, to get something off your chest. You might not be able to around in your environment because it can help you in your growth. So I think that's dope. You could definitely count me in on that part of it, on getting in the network.
Yeah, like I said, we'd love to be a part of that network. That's for sure. I mean, I mean, heck, that's part of what we do at Bridging the Gap is trying to make topics that maybe aren't maybe the best, don't want to be talked about. We make them happen. I mean, and we have conversations that are hard to have, and this, I think, is a hard to have conversation. I mean, especially for, I know parents that don't want, who will never admit that they have done wrong, or they'll, I mean, there's people in my family who the father is gone, and I mean, I'm sure everybody here knows somebody where the father has just completely left the life, or even the mother is just completely gone from their lives, and there's almost like this piece that they don't have, and it's a shame.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It made me, to be honest, I went through. I'm not gonna say I word to word it. I just looked for points and I found it out. I'll go back and I'll read the rest of it word for word when I have time to actually sit and digest it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It had me thinking there. In that short group of words. I'm not gonna say short, but the pages of the book that you have, the E1 you sent us, it had me thinking about one. I'm gonna go talk to the elders in my family, and then I'm gonna talk to my kids. Like, wait a minute, I just see some things like, oh my God, I just made a whole bunch of mistakes right in front of my eyes. Let me go talk to them, so they can understand it. So, but what it did is it's gonna work. I'm gonna have conversations with them that I probably wouldn't have had with them if I didn't read the book. I think that's powerful. That's how I know that it's something that we want to be a part of, because it's powerful. When it's powerful, it makes me think, you know what I mean? Because I'm a pretty, like, if it doesn't move me, I keep moving.
Not just think, but take action. Take action.
And that's the overall goal. A lot of people reached out and said, oh man, I think I could have did this better. And it's not to highlight anyone to make you feel like you're not doing a great job. You're doing what you know how to do. But it's just actually being like, I had to, like, daily, I look in the mirror of mistakes that I made or mistakes that I'm still making. Like, this is not something that, I'm like, you know what, I mastered this, I'm a professional, and I don't make no mistakes. I'm actually showing you my mistakes as I'm going along, but I'm also showing you where they could have came from growing up a certain way. And then at the same time, I just want people to speak their feelings, get their feelings out, and understand that it's okay to make a mistake, but it's not okay not to correct it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really
Don't
good.
continue to making them, and don't be scared to admit it, yo.
Yeah.
And pride, that's a big thing too that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And when you look at those things, people they're just so prideful that they can't admit wrong. I mean, I was a stubborn person. I would argue to where it came to fight, blows, everything. And I know I was dead wrong, probably
Yeah.
like after they told me I was wrong, and
Yeah.
just took it to another level because of pride. So
And
a lot of
that-
those things take a lot of effect in there. And I like I said, I'm going to recommend this. I'm going to pass it on to a couple of my peoples in my circle, the ebook that you sent us, if you don't mind, let
I
a
know.
couple of close circle read it, and then it'll open up some dialogue, I really think.
Yeah.
With a lot of people, and I think that they'll be able to better their relationship, like you guys wrote in the end, like your wife and your daughter wrote in the end, and I think that shit's dope, bro.
Yeah,
So I
thank
salute you,
I
man.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're getting ready here to wrap up the show. But again, Jameel, thank you for coming on. Everybody, please, 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 please go check out Jameel's book, Signs. We Could All Be Better Parents. It's out on Amazon. Actually, after the show, I'll probably just drop the link in the description of the video.
Okay.
That way, people, if they want to go buy it and check it out, go click it. And like I said, I mean, it's not like the most longest read in the world or anything, so no one's going to have to, get all crazy or anything if they feel like it's going to be like buying one of those really thick parenting books. You know what I'm talking about? Because my stepmom them used to buy them, like those parenting books are like this thick, and it's like, holy heck, like how much preparation do you need? But I mean, because I don't like you. We
I think it's
pretty
straight
much
to the
said,
point.
like we pretty much said tonight, there's nothing that's really, really gonna prepare you. So I mean, you might as well just take the things you can and stop reading all the gigantic books.
Yeah.
Take those little slices of life and advice from people around you
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get it. And like I said, again, check out his book. This has been a great conversation, Jameel. Again, thank you guys for coming on. Everybody that stopped by, thanks for stopping by the chat. As always, stay beautiful. Take care of yourselves. See ya. Bridging the Gap, we're out of here. Have a good night.
Wow.